Hi students. Hi students. CBSE class 12 economics topic Indian economic development 1950 to 1990. Important points. Economic planning, it is a process under which a central authority defines a set of targets to be achieved within a specified period. The goals of planning in India: long-term goal, short-term goals. Long-term goals to be achieved over a period of 20 years, modernization, adoption of new technology and changes in social outlook, self-reliance, reducing the dependence on imports, economic growth, increase in the aggregate output of goods and services, equity, reduction in inequality of income and wealth. Full employment refers to a situation when all the people in the working age group is engaged in some gainful employment. Short-term goals to be achieved over a period of 5 years. Short-term objectives vary from plan to plan to depend on current needs of the country. For example, first plan 1951 to 56 focused on higher agricultural production, while in second plan 1956 to 61 shifted the focus from agriculture to industry. In India, growth and equity are objectives of all the 5 years plan. The goal of 5-year plan 12th the year 2012 to 17 is inclusive development. In 1950, the Planning Commission was set up with the Prime Minister as its chairman. Economy, a system which provides means to work and livelihood, is called economy. 3 types of economy. Capitalism, it is an economic system in which major economic decisions are taken through the market forces. Socialities, economy is an economy in which all the decisions are taken by the government. Mixed economy is an economic system in which all are taken by government and as well as private sector. Goals of 5-year plans. A plan should have some clearly specified goals. The goals of 5-year plans are: growth. Economic growth implies a consistent increase in GDP or a consistent increase in the level of output or a consistent increase in the flow of goods and services in the economy over a long period of time. Modernization, to increase the production of goods and services to producers with the adaptation of new technology. Self-reliance, it means avoiding the imports of those goods which could be produced in India itself. This policy was considered a necessity to reduce our dependence on foreign countries, especially for food. Equity, it implies the equitable distribution of income so that the benefits of growth are shared by all sections of the society. Importance of agriculture in the Indian economy. Contribution to GDP, supply of wage goods, employment, industrial raw material. Contribution to internal trade, contribution to domestic trade, wealth of the nations. Problems of Indian agriculture: lack of permanent means of irrigation, deficiency of finance, conventional outlook, small and scattered holding, lack of organized marketing system. Reforms in the Indian agriculture: technical reforms, use of HYV seeds, use of chemical fertilizers, scientific farm management practices, mechanized means of cultivation. Land reforms: abolition of intermediaries, regulation of rent, consolidation of holding, ceiling on land holding, cooperative farming. General reforms: expansion of irrigation facilities, provision of credit, regulated market, price support policy. Green revolution or technological reforms. This refers to the large increase in the production of food grains resulting from the use of high yielding variety HYV seeds specifically for wheat and rice, along with the use of fertilizer and pesticides in the correct quantities as well as the regular supply of water. Marketable surplus. It refers to surplus of farmer's output over and above his own farm consumption. Thus, marketable surplus of wheat is equal to output of wheat minus on farm consumption of wheat. Merits: positive efforts of green revolution, self-efficiency in good grains, self-sufficiency in food grains, increase in production of the rice and wheat, increase in income of the farmers, rise of good grains declined, low income groups who spend a large percentage of their income on food benefited from this decline in relative prices. Procure enough food grains to build buffer stocks which could be used in times of food storage. Negative effects of green revolution: increase in income disparities, increase in regional disparities, effective only on wheat and rice, overutilization of chemical in agriculture. Importance of industrial sector: structural transformation, source of employment, source of mechanized means of farming, imports dynamism to growth process, growth of civilization, infrastructural growth. Features of industrial policy revolution of 1956. Features of industrial policy revolution of 1956. New classification of industries. Industries were classified into 3 schedules depending upon role of state. A. Schedule A 17. Industries listed in Industry A whose future development would be the responsibility of state. B. Industry B 12 industries were included in Industry B. Private sector could supplement of efforts of the public sector, with the state taking sole responsibility for starting new units. C. Schedule C. Other residual industries were left open to private sector. Stress on the role of cottage and small scale industries. Industrial licensing. Industries in the private sector could be established only through a license from the government. Industrial concerns were offered private entrepreneurs for establishing industry in the backward regions of the country, such as tax rebate and concessional rates for power supply, such as tax rebate and concessional rates for power supply. Small scale industry, SIS. A small scale industry is presently defined as the one whose investment does not exceed rupees 5 crores. Characteristic of SI or role of small scale industries: labor intensive, employment oriented, self employment, less capital intensive, export promotion, seed beds for large scale industries, shows the locational facilities. Problems of small scale industries: difficulty of finance, shortage of raw materials, difficulty of marketing, outdated machines and equipment, competition from large scale industries. Foreign trade. At the time of independence, raw material was exported from India to Britain in abundance. On the other hand, finished goods from Britain were imported to India. Notably, our balance of trade was favorable, that is, in bracket, exports greater than imports. After the independence, India's foreign trade recorded a noticeable change as such as decline in percentage share of agricultural exports, increase in percentage share of manufactured goods in total exports, change in direction of export trade and import trade, decline of Britain as main trading partner, trade policy. In the first 7 5-year plans of India, the trade was commonly called inward looking trade strategy. This strategy is technically known as import substitution. Import substitution means substituting imports with the domestic production. Imports were protected by imposition of tariff and quotas, which protect the domestic firms from foreign competition. Impact of inward looking trade strategy on the domestic industry. In the first 7 5-year plans of India, the trade was commonly called an inward looking trade strategy. This strategy is technically known as import substitution. Import substitution means substituting imports with the domestic production. Imports were protected by the imposition of tariff and quotas, which protects the domestic firms from foreign competition. Impacts of inward looking trade strategy on the domestic industry. It helped to serve the foreign exchange by reducing the import of goods, created a protected market and a large demand for domestically produced goods, helped to build a strong industrial base in our country, which directly lead to the economic growth. Criticism of import substituting strategy. It did not lead to growth, lack of competition, implied lack of modernization, growth of inefficient public monopolies. It did not lead to efficiency. Thank you, students.